on page 2. First of all, we would like to introduce Roboadvice and the global relevance. And after this, we explain our mixed methods design and will show our research findings and recommendations. Roboadvice belong to the fintech company.
So we cannot see your presentation slides.
Okay, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Not ready.
Okay, let me just do it again. Sorry, just 1 sec.
Yeah, all right. Can you make it,
go to
make it full screen and then it's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, page 4, please. Yeah, perfect. Roboadvice belong to the fintech company sector, as you can see on this page. Fintechs are technological startups that operate in the financial industry. And as you can see, there's currently a high number of prominent fintechs that are operating the financial market. And in the dash box on the left, there are some select German Roboadvice like Liquid. And of course, it's also important to give a short definition of robo. Robo-advisors make financial decisions based on an algorithm. So they represent a digital investment alternative to traditional banks. And due to this high potential of robo-advice, large banks cooperate with prominent robo-advisors like ING, as you can see on page 5. Furthermore, it's also important to underline that large banks also have developed their own robots, like Robin from the Deutsche Bank, as you can see on page 6. Well, let's move to the topic 2, our research design. Yes, perfect. First of all, it's important to underline that we decided on a mixed method type. We used a survey from the ESF Institute in 2017, 2018. As you can see on the left side, we received around 1,900 responses from young professionals aged 18 to 35. And we have evaluated 5 relevant questions that you can see on the right. Especially question 5, what do we want or expect from a bank of the future, relevant. Evaluate these questions by using a descriptive statistic. I would like to give the stage to my colleague who continue with the research design.
All right, thanks, Felipe. As you already mentioned, we decided to use the mixed methods design, and he just presented you the first one, the quantitative part. I will continue with the qualitative part. As you already learned or maybe know that Roboadvice is a very young topic and a very young technology or service in financial markets. And there's not much literature about it or research. So what we did first is we conducted a literature review to see, okay, what are the researchers focusing on, and for instance, which countries. We're talking about the German market right now, and if you check the literature review, then you see that most of the parts are only focusing on the US market. And now, as you can see that, or you can imagine, there are like very many cultural differences between different countries. So you cannot compare the US market, for instance, to the German markets. It just basically starts with that Germans are very different in terms of talking about investments. And they're also like a culture of saving money on savings accounts, for instance. Whereas Americans really like to invest in shares, or maybe Chinese people as well. So this is one big part of this thing. After the review, we derived some categories in a deductive way and formulated our hypothesis. And we concluded with the conduction of the expert interviews. We interviewed 20 experts from this topic. And what I want to stress is that we focused on interviewing CEOs, and managing partners. So we had very high positioned people who had a big saying in the company to extract their expert knowledge, because there's not much literature, and especially not focusing on the German market. So this was our way. And after that, we transcribed it and used it by using the structured content analysis to see what results we get out of it. So this in a nutshell. So let's take a look at the research findings first. Due to our time constraint, because we want to fit in to the 10 minutes you gave us. So let's start with the research results. We just focus now on 4 points. First of all, if you talk about advisory services, of course you can go into the banking branch and talk with a person in person. But you can also do it online or solely online based on algorithms. As we can see, due to the quantitative and also qualitative results, it does seem that the human component still matters. So especially we Germans, we still like to go into the branch, and we like to talk to real life humans about our finances, especially investments. And there's still kind of an aversion to trust the digital channels and to do that solely at home from the couch to invest money. So nevertheless, Roboadvice is still relevant for the German market. As we can see, there's like a huge $1 billion market in the US and also in China. So why not in Germany? It is relevant, but not for the majority of Germans. And this is due to some current limitations we want to stress at this point. So I just jumped to the next slide to dig deeper into one of the findings. Roboadvice is relevant, but shows current limitations. Now, for instance, if we all, just take a moment and think about when we invest money. If you go to a personal advisor, of course, you do not only talk about investments in savings accounts or in a share or in a fund. You may also like to talk about different topics such as tax optimization. You want to talk about your what happens after you probably die and who's going to get the money afterwards. So there are a variety of topics you need to address in order to have like a full reflection on your financial situation. And this is something that current robo-advisors cannot cover yet. So they are solely focused on a very standardized approach. So you just like give some data inputs, so some details about your age, your risk aversion or your risk mentality. And afterwards, there's like a matrix. And if some factors trigger, then you will like be put into one profile and you get like a certain portfolio recommendation based on different funds, mostly ETF funds, exchange traded funds. So basically that's it for now. But there are no more like individualization possibilities to follow. So this is like a huge disadvantage or limitation right now. This is also the main reason why people do not accept it as much as it is now in the US, for instance. So Germans are like very restricted when it comes to this point in investing. So and also if we take a look at the robo-advisors on the market, and Felipe just showed 2 examples. So we call it the scaling strategy paradox. The market is currently consolidating, and we have a few good players on the market. And it is safe to say that not every player will survive this cutthroat competition. So in order to compete on market, you have to present a business model with a good scaling strategy. So you need high volumes of investments in order to survive. But it is very paradox that all the strategies from the current robo-advisors are not able to fit the needs from customers with high volumes, like rich people. Because the rich, they do not, or they are not interested in the standardized offer. They want the individual services, and they cannot get it online. They can only get it from now on or from this point on only in the branches. So this is a huge disadvantage at this point. Okay, jumping back due to our time, let's see. we formulated some recommendations based on the quantitative and qualitative data we got. First of all, if you are like a traditional bank in Germany or maybe in other countries, it makes sense to think about it and to introduce such a service, because we have like a currently younger generation in our countries, and they're going to get all the money from the older generations. So it definitely makes sense to build something or to provide something which is attractive to younger generations. Furthermore, it also makes sense that you try to combine it with elements of human advisory services. For instance, as I already outlined, current digital offers, they can only provide standardized solutions. It makes sense to combine it with technological parts in order to have like a mixed robo-advisor or so-called hybrid robo-advisory. So you take the best parts of both worlds and combine it in one very nice service. There are some players on the market who did that, but obviously this is like not the majority doing it. So this totally makes sense to think about that if you are like a robo-advisor, like fintech, or even like a traditional bank trying to develop something like that on your own. Thank you very much for the attention. This was the results. We are fully aware of it that this does not just cover all the content we have in our papers. If you have any